This week in the League of Legends, we have patch 5.24, which introduces the Snowdown Showdown, and coming up very soon, the new and reworked Poppy. All this and more on the Spastic Gaming Web Show.
This is Water Elemental.
And this is Axis, and we are here today to talk about the League of Legends, an ongoing show where we talk a little bit about everyone's favorite mobile style battle game.
Patch, that's all we got.
Yeah, it's coming out, I think,
Tomorrow.
Yeah. So, time of this recording, it'll probably be out, and we'll be playing Poppy, and we'll give you some feedback on her and our ratings for her next week, so look forward to that. But for now, we're going to talk about the changes and what they mean for the game. Normally, we'd break this patch up into a separate episode, but because this is the only news for this week, we're just going to do our one concise.
First up, Ashe. Nothing too big. Her Rangers Focus stacks are now down to 4.
Well, this is a buff for Ashe. She can actually get those up times a little bit more. They were tinkering with the idea of having her fire less volleys, but after the change to the critical strikes being independent on Rangers Focus of last patch, this is just to make her uptime on her critical strikes a little bit more consistent, which is good. Anivia, they nerfed because she's so incredibly powerful. Glacial Storm, the chill duration has gone from 2 seconds to 1 second. The maximum range at which she can cast it is down by 200 units to 1,000. Anivia is one of the most picked AP characters right now because of Deathfire Touch. And so changing the way Glacial Storm works with the chill duration to increase her damage was sort of an interesting way of not nerfing her damage, but promoting more dynamic gameplay, I think.
Azir, they fixed a bug where Azir would command attacks before soldiers could attack. And then Shifting Sands, they now have it so Azir now moves with soldiers to their endpoint even if he catches up with them while traveling. So we can use this as a boost and an engage even if he's farther away. So he can kind of slingshot a bit better.
Nice. Bardling, good old Bard, got changed just a little bit. The passive, Traveler's Call, the recharge rate of which he gets each little meep is 8 seconds from 10. The Caretaker Shrine, his heal, got changed. The minimum ratio is 0.3, and the maximum ratio is 0.6 from 0.2 and 0.45. So, a pretty good increase in power.
Yeah. I always felt that his passive recharged way too slowly for something that was definitely needed to be a good kind of not pusher per se, but harassment. Because they always are focus use your charms. What's the point of collecting charms if it takes 15 to 10 seconds to get my stupid little charms?
The easiest comparison is to Thresh, and Thresh's passive on his bonus auto attack is up so much more often, so I think this is a good change.
Yep. Brand, Pillar of Fire, the cost of mana has increased exponentially from 90 to 110 at max rank. Lower levels kind of go up by 5, but yeah, the harassment late game with Pillar of Fire was just insane.
Yeah, Brand is another one of those crazy ones that's going really good with Deathfire Touch. And so bringing up his mana costs up to 20 at max rank from 70 to 90 is really, really good. This is going to encourage him to not just push for early damage and for that early Leandry's Torment. So if they can just slow that down a little bit so he has to make more choices is definitely a good thing.
Dr. Mundo, Infected Cleaver, they changed the way it scales. The current health damage scales a little bit more consistently throughout the 5 levels instead of kind of in weird spikes. And maximum damage to monsters also is changed. Deals less damage at earlier ranks all the way up. Actually, deals less damage at all ranks. Boo.
Except for the first.
Right.
So you can still jungle feasibly well. Masochism got changed. It no longer works on structures. Thank goodness. The ratio is now changed to its scales. Instead of 5% flat, it is 3 to 5 depending on your rank. Echo got changed just a little bit. They fixed a bug with his passive where Satyr Devourer and other on-hit effects don't particularly work. So now you can actually use these, and I think they still have it so certain melee exclusive hits won't go with that as well.
Hecarim, his base health went down, and his health growth rate went down as well. Warpath, his passive, no longer causes Hecarim to ignore unit collision. But Devastating Charge now ignores unit collision while charging.
Yay!
So he can now use it only on his E.
So, definitely a nerf. You gotta be smarter about your movement on him. Probably won't be as good of a lane bully now, though.
Jinx switcheroo, the fishbone cast time has been decreased to 0.28. They fixed a bug where Ruin's hurricane bolts couldn't critical strike with rockets, but now hurricane bolts now are mini rockets while using fishbone. So mini nukes everywhere.
Indeed. Wall of Pain, the slow effectiveness will drop a lot faster. So instead of over time, the half effectiveness rate will take place after 1 second instead of slowly over the entirety of the duration. Kindred, the heal on Wolf's Frenzy is down significantly from 63 to 114 down to 43 to 94. And Lamb's Respite, the cooldown is up at early levels but down at later levels. This basically means Kindred is a lot less resilient at early levels, which I think is definitely a good thing. For a character that has so much going on for her in the jungle, her being so healthy is a bad thing in my book.
Yep, Kog'Maw, Bio Arcane Barrage. They remove the 80% scaling into magic damage off his attack, but it now deals 2% of target's maximum health as magic damage. So it just is a base damage instead of a ratio, which is a lot better.
This is one big thing I have a problem with a lot in League, is when AD scales into magic. I think that's kind of a bad design choice. And in this case, it's going to be better for him in the early game and a lot worse for him in the late game. So that's kind of good. Kog'Maw's really crazy right now. Malzahar, Null Zone. The percentage of maximum health is down at all ranks except for the first, from 4 to 6 instead of 4 to 8. So Malzahar, again, he's another one of these characters that is doing really, really, really well with Deathfire Touch, and so bringing him down was sort of inevitable.
Master Yi, Meditate, the ability power ratio was cut in half.
But this is just a tooltip fix from 2 years ago.
Why did they... Oh, okay.
I think it's just because it ticks more often, but it's the same amount over time. So
Clarity
there
stuff.
you go. And no one likes Master Yi anyway.
Master who?
Misfortune got tinkered with. Attack speed for Strut is down at early levels, but the same at higher levels. And Make It Rain has a reduced slow at early levels and the same at higher levels. Basically, this is to mitigate the amount of effectiveness she got from her level 1 abilities, because it's really easy to get double tap up first and then just have these really strong utility spells. So making it more interesting to level up different paths, or just, not be as strong for putting 1 point in ability. Javelin Toss on Nidali, the damage of that ability is up at early levels, all the way up to 130 where it currently is, and the maximum damage is up at early levels as well. Quinn, her base attack damage is down by 2 points. Blinding Assault damage is down from 20 to 120, from 25 to 145. The ratio has been tinkered with a little bit. It's the same total AD ratio at level 1, but it scales to 1.2 total AD from 1.4. And the mana cost now scales with level from 50 to 70. This is interesting because Quinn is dominating right now. So, yeah, bringing her down, making those ratios a little bit less, isn't going to hurt her because she's doing so well. It'll just bring her in line with other characters.
Rammus, his Powerball, the slow duration has been increased to 2 seconds. Champion hit radius has been decreased to 250. They also changed his pathing so he will no longer freak out when trying to path around minions while powerballing, because that was always the worst when you're trying to get after him and minion wave shows up and you're just kind of like trapped in there and they carry you away. It's the worst.
Rammus, I don't actually like this nerf. I think he's strong, but I think he's strong in an environment where AD is doing really, really well, barring the few AP characters that benefit from the Deathfire Touch item. I don't really like this change. Riven, small buff to her base health regen. Riven, along with a lot of other AD assassins that depended on Tiamat, are hurting really badly, so just bringing her up as far as sustaining lane. Riven's too strong in my book, but I can see where they're coming from for this change. Sivir's Ricochet ratio, bonus AD ratio, went up from 0.5 to 0.7 to 0.6 to 0.8. Basically went up by 0.1 at every rank. So we haven't seen any Sivers this season, so this is definitely a good thing.
With Skarner, they had a change to Fracture, where Fracture's missile is no longer destroyed after hitting 6 or more targets. And they also changed Impale to have a 0.6 total attack damage.
You can actually clear away with Fracture now.
What?
Soraka definitely getting nerfed. She's way too strong right now, especially with the changes to Grievous Wounds and the Windspeaker's Blessing. Starcall range is down by 150 units to 800. Astral Infusion's mana cost is up by 40 across the board to 40 to 60. And Wish no longer removes Grievous Wounds. I don't think this is the last nerf we're going to see for Soraka. She is so crazy right now.
And what's funny is a lot of people didn't like her after her rework. They're like, "Oh no, you don't want an aggressive support. You don't want an aggressive support. You want a tanky support." And then she comes along.
The thing is, now you just trade with her all day because literally there's no Grievous Wounds.
Nope.
So she just heals her lane mate to full every single time. She cues you from across the lane, and it's not a big deal.
No, I love Soraka, so this change is fantastic.
Well, no, this is a nerf to her.
Well,
but you mean this season. Right on.
This season, but I agree she needs nerfs.
Yeah, she's bonkers. Swain, actually, another character, Deathfire Touch, he's out of control, never moves, root duration now scales. Instead of a flat 2 seconds, it's 1 to 2. I think this is a huge nerf to Swain. I don't think he's going to see any play. He is the least competitive Deathfire Touch character, and so this is a big nerf to him.
Yeah, he is too slow on early games as far as aggression because his main damaging ability needs the player to stay within a certain radius, and you need Never Move to keep them there to deal that damage. So if you reduce the root on Never Move, he ain't going to deal as much damage as he can. So...
Tom Kench, our favorite. Devour got changed a little bit. No longer gives him movement speed when he's moving away from enemies while devouring an allied champion.
Huge hit.
He is an incredibly strong support, especially in this kind of bursty AD meta. Just being able to buy a little bit of time while that ignite ticks down, definitely very strong. So changing this so that way he has to take risks when protecting an AD character is definitely very good.
Twisted Fate, they reduced the damage on his Q in late game by about 20 at each rank. Early game, it's still at 60, and then trickles down.
Indeed. Xinyao, slight bug fixes, changing the bug where 3-Talon Strike was incredibly slow, and where the buff wouldn't refresh when you auto-attacked. So now you can always get that Talon Strike up, even if you're a little bit slow to do it. Ziggs, the passive damage from Short Fuse, up by 50%. You're going to be able to siege down those towers on Zig. That's actually really cool. I like that a lot. Jungle Monster tuning. Basically, they reduced armor across the board, but brought health up just a little bit. And the Jungle Monster's health growth is now down, but their armor growth is up pretty significantly. So, yeah, they're going to take less damage from you, and you're going to get less HP back from them if you are a lifesteal character. I think this is an interesting change. I have to see it in action to see how it plays out.
I think they're trying to encourage more magic users into the jungle. So,
Rift Herald, very cool change. When you kill him, you get an item instead. It's dropped on the ground, and whoever picks it up will grant them basically the Rift Herald buff. Have to be the last one to auto attack it, and Rift Herald will now grant Nunu a buff when he consumes him. So that's pretty cool.
But they did remove the ability to deal damage to his eye in execution range. So that's like the burn down at the very end of his lifespan is gone.
Indeed. So you still gotta be careful, but now you can more consistently give it to the character that needs it. Banner of Command now has a tooltip to show how much gold you generate. Who really cares? Dead Man's Plate, health knocked down by 100. Dead Man's Plate is so popular right now. It's my favorite item game. But nerfing it like this, I'm not sure. There isn't really an alternative right now. Sunfire's Cape is too risky, and it doesn't let you push. And Randuin's is too expensive. So I'm kind of curious to see how this goes. Gwinsu's Rageblade, the AoE on the Gwinsu's Rage effect, is down by 100 units. Jack's OP, figures, right? And Essence Reaver, they just had some tooltip clarifications. So that way, when you get an amount of critical strike from other sources, it brings the CDR up rather than watching from other sources like that. Zeal's total cost is up to 1,300 from 1,200, and the building costs of all items that build out of Zeal are up by 100, except for Trinity Force. Phantom Dancer was given more attack speed, 5% more to be exact, Compared to all the other Zeal items, PD is kind of garbage, so this is a good change. Farsight Alteration. This trinket is taken over almost every other one in the late game. It's just so good, there's no competition. So they tinkered with it so the cooldown is significantly longer at all levels. The ward vision radius is significantly lower. And it now has a dual indicator to show both the range of the clairvoyance and the vision range of the ward placement. So you can kind of understand where you're going to get in that initial pop and where that ward is going to settle.
This is so good on supports. Like, I love being able to put multiple of these wards down and get the clairvoyance effect, and it's fantastic. I see why they have to nerf it, because why play Scanner when you could just have that, you know?
I really dislike that they removed any kind of Oracle's vision from this game other than that ward. And with that being so good, like, there's so few wards on the map. It's outside of those little blue ones, so... Enchantment Devourer got changed a little bit, so now it grants 5 stacks on assists of the Rift Herald. So this is really, really, really good, especially with the changes to Rift Herald. Devourer OP, as they say.
The Mastery system, they are doing a lot of tweaks, starting with the Ferocity Tree. Feast, the cooldown is now at 25 seconds.
It's given way too much sustain, so this is a good change.
Fervor of Battle, they removed the minion stacking. Only stacks.
So good. I'm so happy.
Yeah, it only stacks with champion hits. Using abilities no longer grant stacks of Fervor. Melee attacks now grant double stacks of Fervor, and hitting an enemy champion with an ability grants 2 stacks at a 2-second cooldown.
I don't think the 2-second cooldown was quite necessary, but I understand why, because of certain spell combos. Fervor of Battle, yeah, you just stack it up to 10 while you're CSing, and you just turn and tap an enemy character for an extra 20, 30 damage. Like, it's bonkers.
Yeah.
So this is a good change. They'll have to tinker with this again, I guarantee it. Warlord's Bloodlust changed it so it can't proc multiple times within its cooldown. This is good. Deathfire Touch changed. The duration is 4 seconds now instead of 3. The area of effect duration is 2 seconds from 1.5. The damage over time duration is now 1 second. So this is an interesting change, mostly because it's too strong right now, especially with certain characters. Some characters are extremely weak, other characters it's way too good. And this change basically makes it so the damage is more consistent and it lasts longer. So if you are trying to do spell combos or dot combos, you do less damage overall. But because the damage is coming in 1 second increments instead of 1.5 second increments, it's much easier to pick up when that damage is going to go off, and you can follow it more closely. Now, the Cunning Tree, they've actually added a lot more stuff. This is something I mentioned when these masteries first came out. 2, and then there's 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 3. And now they're trying to make it so that way there is 2, and then 3, and then 2, and then 3, and then 2, and then 3. So that way it's more consistent, and you have more options overall. And so to this end, they have added Assassin to the first tier of the Cunning Tree. You deal 1.5% increased damage when there are no allied champions that are near them, which is really cool. Precision has been changed. You get more armor penetration at different levels. So you start with 5 instead of 3, and you get 0.5 per level from 0.3. Thunderlord's Decree, you now get 0.3 bonus attack damage from 0.2. And Storm Raider's Surge now has a particle effect on activation, so you can actually know when it's up rather than just being like, oh, I'm going fast now. Cool. Windspeaker's Blessing, this is a very contentious one. Instead of a flat 15% increase to their armor and MR, they get 4 to 22 armor and 2 to 11 magic resistance. Now the level is taken from whoever is higher, the caster or the target. This is very cool. Resolve, bonus armor and magic resistance down on Unyielding. Explorer now grants more movement speed in the brush and river. Tough Skin had a slight change, so that way it only applies to basic attacks rather than all sources of damage. Veteran Scars is now flat health, 45 to be precise, from 4%. This is a bad change in my book. Bond of Stone is now 3% mitigation while alone and 6% mitigation with an ally. This is a nerf to the damage reduction with an ally, but a buff to the damage reduction while alone. And the ally block turns off now at 5% from 15% health. So, A nerf to support, but a buff to junglers, I'd say.
Yeah, it is definitely a, hey, while you're around people, you're going to take that damage, but it's going to be reduced. The cap is turning off at 5% health for the person, so you're siphoning damage at till 5%, correct?
Indeed.
Okay, so I kind of wish there was a buffer of 10%. I think that would be a good change for it, so that you still have that time to reflect, because at 5%, that's a little risky to have an incoming damage from all sources, so...
The big pathing issue, if you've played any games of League this week, you know what I'm talking about. Creeps stopping in the middle of the wave, creeps running after you past 2 or 3 towers, creeps just turbo blocking people and just making these flanks maneuvers that you can't get past. This has been so horrifying.
I had a game where I was blue, had a red minion attack me, followed me to jungle from bot lane to mid lane, down into base, and he died at the platform. That's how bad it was.
It's really bad.
I had a friend, his name was Jeremy, and we went all the way down and we had an adventure together. We saw some sights, had some snacks, he died.
It's silly. But they've reverted these changes, so they're going to work on it and bring it back to us. And of course, Poppy's coming out. We're going to play with her a little bit more before we give our opinions on her. It's just a little bit too early.
Yes.
And that's Snowdown Showdown stuff. We've actually talked about this in a previous video, and we're going to, again, play with it some more before we give our thoughts on the tinkered with Snowdown, Poro King mode, and the new skins, and of course the flash sales, and the mystery gifting, and the new wards. We're going to have all kinds of stuff to talk about next week, guys, so look forward to it. But we're going to move on to our own section here.
This week's question comes from The Dude, and he asks... What do you guys Kickstarter? Do you use Kickstarter? Do you use Patreon on other users?
I have Kickstarted a few projects, but I think the one that people know the most is Star Citizen.
Never heard it?
It's a very interesting game. I can't wait to get on the Persistent Universe server here in a few weeks, but for now, pretty crazy.
First-person shooter in yet?
Yes, technically.
You just can't play it.
It's on their test realm right now. When it comes out to live, we can play it.
All right, yeah.
I can fly you up and we can shoot people.
Yeah, I haven't played anything because my computer was like, I don't feel like running this. And I'm like, all right, that was a waste of like 3 days of download.
It's extremely system intensive.
But if first-person shooter, I think will run decently.
Yeah, basically there's this abandoned station and you can fly up to it and you dock your ship and you climb out and there's like guns, you just pick them up and you just creep around and shoot at people.
That sounds pretty fun.
So I have a Connie, so I can load up you and everybody, and we can fly over there. And
we'll do some video of us.
Yeah.
What's going on?
You can actually take the guns off the station and just fly elsewhere because there's these little mission objectives people have to do. So you can literally just camp in those objectives and wait for people to come and just be like, "Hey, how you doing?" It's terrible. It's terrible.
So back on the actual topic. For me, I've backed 5 games. I've backed Hex, obviously. I have backed Exploding Kittens, which is that card game made by the comic book The Oatmeal. I backed 2 other card games that should be coming by the summer next year. So I've backed a couple of games. I'm very kind of hesitant unless I really do my research on it. There's a lot of stuff that I skipped on backing. I'm probably...
You didn't back my number 9?
No.
Well, good, because it failed.
Yeah. Another one that everybody's like, oh, why didn't you back is Psychonauts 2. I want Psychonauts 2 so bad, but Double Fine has the worst record when it comes to it. Look at Broken Age, look at Spatian DS9. It's so bad.
There you go. But that's it for questions this week, guys. We love questions. We try to answer a few every week. So if you have a question for us about the show, about League of Legends, about Smash Gaming, about what we're up to, about what we might be up to, about anything, really. We'll answer even personal questions sometimes. You just got to ask right.
But how does that make you feel?
But if you'd like to ask us a question, please post it in the comment section below. Send it to our website, Send it to our email, smastigaming@gmail.com, or post it on our website, Twitter, or Facebook, all of which are linked in the information down below.
You don't want to break the chain of
I have a rhythm and a blue and a beat. And a Patreon, which is patreon.com/SpastiGaming, which you can donate to. You get all kinds of extra perks and some inside videos and all kinds of fun stuff that you might see from us. But that's really it for us this week. This patch, we'll talk about Poppy next week. Look forward to that.
We're definitely going to both be playing her a lot.
Oh yes, I love top laners. They're so good. I've actually kind of been on a Zillion stint lately.
Really?
He's really good.
Ew.
They changed the targeting on his time bombs. I can get stuns way more consistently now. Like, it's super lenient. You just gotta play him right. But the big changes, I think, that have made him fun to play again, changing to his bomb targeting, and the fact that you can get 45% CDR instead of 40% CDR. Oh, it is. He is a menace. He's a menace.
Dennis the Menace?
Yes. Otherwise, Business Axis.
And Water Elemental.
I'm gonna go to the grocery store and I'm gonna buy a pizza.
I'm going to go play some Cho'Gall. I'm the head.
Loktar, friend.